Okay. The low learning outcomes of mathematics, especially in the chapter of equation and quadratic function, I plan to use STEM learning by using contextual problem, namely is Perla Bridge. And then, okay, then STEM learning with the use of 4D frame is expected to improve critical thinking skill and so as to improve the student learning outcomes. And then we can see from the beginning on table 1 and table 2 that these two tables are the basis of the author to conduct the classroom action research on equation and quadratic function. Okay, next. Then figure 1, the prologue during required, and figure 2 and 40 frame source from Mr. Yoga Utama 2021. Okay. I will explain. The application of STEM learning in state junior high school Perla is very rarely. And then the student on the author lacks of knowledge of experience using STEM learning in his classroom. STEM learning will be more meaningful if related of contextual condition in the surrounding area, make it easier for student to learn it. After the author participate and the 40 frame assisted STEM learning workshop organized by CMEO and the discovery of 40 frame media by Mr. Honggu Park is made from a plastic straw and very suitable for the learning with STEM approach. This inspired the author to carry out the same learning activities using 40 frame media in math subject class 9 semester 1. Learning activities use STEM by 40 frame media authorize the problem Perla bridge as the result of material. The bridge is always damaged every years and always repair whatever years it is always damaged again. Now, Perla bridge is the one of the access route for the student go to school. Besides being used of the student, the Perla bridge is also used of province routes is the meaning the connection of province of Aceh with the province of North Sumatra. That's why in Macprola Bridge is always damaged every year. It is contextual problem. It is used the author to the research material to apply learning with the 4D frame STEAM approach. And then next, based on the background of the previous slide, the purpose of the research are number one, to find out the improvement of critical thinking skill of junior high school student use of 4D frame STEAM project-based learning. Number two or the second, to find out how the student of junior high school 1 Perla respond to 4D frame STEAM project-based learning. And next, okay. Based on the title of the background of the author, it can be concluded that there is a link between the axis problem and for the frame assistant STEAM learning using the classroom action research model developed by John Elliott. Just like figure 4, the classroom action research cycle model of John Elliott short from Yudhishthira 2012. And then uh, for more detail, the form of the research framework we can get to for the author carry out by modifying the research of framework from Haryaji 2017 look like a figure 3 and figure 4. Okay, we can next. And then the population and sample population used in the study were students of junior high school 1 Perla for the academic years 2021 and 2022, while the research sample was class 9.1 student with 11 male student and 15 male student. And next, in the learning activity in this study using 4D frame STEAM project-based learning in the chapter on equation and quadratic function. Then the criteria for determining the success indicator are achieved is they are, okay, I can move first. Number one, the indicator of activity in the study is the number of students is if the activeness of student in the learning process increasing about or equal 75% of active student in the class learning. And the second, there is an increasing in student mathematical critical thinking skill for before and after the application of body frame assistant STEAM learning with a minimum of moderate criteria using and guide analyze. And number three, there is an increasing in the learning outcome of students in class 9.1 of junior high school, one per in chapter equation and quadratic function, which is indicated by the average test score about or more than 17. And classical learning completeness, or we can call minimum score or benchmarks, is declared successful if the percentage of students was completed study above or equal 75% of the total number of students in the class. Next, the student respond to the learning are positively about 70% of all students. And next, oh, something wrong with my presentation. Okay, okay. And then the table 3, the scope of observation of student learning activity in each cycle. We have three category: very active, active, and the less active. We have three different pre-action in cycle 1 and cycle 2. And then the table 4, the student learning outcomes activities in each cycle, the information about complete, not complete, average, the highest score, and the lowest score, and then three condition, pre-action, cycle 1, and cycle 3. And then there is an increasing and learning in outcome. The next, that result of documentation activity classroom action research. Number one, we have the big observation activities. Like this picture. At the time of the observation, I am and with my student went to the Perla Bridge, which was being repaired by a car. A student in a group held interview with the bridge expert, just like engineering, employees, to explore and then the extent of the condition of the Perla Bridge. And then the student with I am observe the environmental condition around the Perla Bridge. And then all the data obtained are used to the material sketching the bridge. And then the next, make a bridge model with GeoGebra. Based on the result of the observation, students look for imagination or your image for the internet and redraw them into the GeoGebra application and then modify them to create a
Sorry to
bridge that
interrupt,
are
but
suitable for
could
us.
you wrap it
Okay?
up in 1 minute? Sorry to
Yeah, yeah,
interrupt.
okay.
Oh yeah, thank you.
Never mind miss the last. Create a miniature bridge. You can use like this. And after we have make model with GeoGebra, the student will make miniature bridge with 40 frame. And then there, after that, we can bridge endurance test. So we can know 40 frame is more stronger with another groups. Next, by following indicator, the indicator of activeness is increasing. For the first, uh, 90, 96.15% or 25 students were actively learning in cycle 1, cycle 2. Next, there is an increasing student mathematical critical thinking skill we use and can analyze. And then number 3, there is an increasing the learning outcome of student is more than minimum score or BMS, which is 96.15% or 25 students is completely. And then the last, student respond to learning are positive about 20% is reaching, but is more 96.15%. The telling student is very active category. And then next, conclusion, based on the result of the research and discussion, it can be concluded that the learning mathematics on equation and quadratic function use of 40 frame STEAM project-based learning for 9th grade student for junior high school 1 Perla can improve critical thinking skill. Okay, that's right. Only that's my explanation. Thank you for attention. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good night, everybody. Okay,
Yeah.
Miss.
Okay, thank you for a really nice presentation. It was really impressive to think that like we can improve their critical thinking skill by using like this body frame materials. So anyone has question or anything to share? If it is hard, you can leave it to the in the chatting box. So Joko will
Yeah,
reply in the chat box.
I think I
Mhm.
cannot elaborate a lot of my research in here because the duration of the time, and
Mm.
then about the time we have to check up the point of the my research.
Oh,
Just like that.
yes, yes.
Thank you, Joko. Is that how
Okay,
you say
I
your
can
name,
stop
Joko?
my share. Yeah.
Oh,
Okay,
thank
thank
you.
you, Mr.
Jake. I'm
Okay,
Jake, yes.
I can pause. Okay.
Yeah.
So Jake, you have question or anything to remark, or you just say hello?
I
No,
think for
that
the
was it.
first time.
A lot of information to absorb. Yes, it was
Mhm.
wonderful.
Okay, thank you. So if you have any thoughts, just please leave it in the chat box so we can communicate or
Yeah.
have interaction in the chat box. Okay, so I think it's time to move on to the second presenter. Steve, I think Steve was here at first, but
Yes, I'm here.
you're here.
I am here.
Steve, take
I'm a
off.
wizard,
Okay,
yes.
I can stop
I'm,
share now.
yeah, stop sharing. I can start sharing, I guess. Well, greetings and thank you. Thank you, Yoko. That was cool. And you know, it's 4 o'clock in the morning here.
Oh,
4
And you
o'clock.
kept
oh,
me awake.
You're
Yeah,
kidding
it is.
me.
So you kept
Where
me awake.
can I ask where you are?
I'm in the middle of the United States in
I
Kansas.
see
oh,
Kansas.
medal United Kansas.
So
Okay.
there.
Okay,
So
I
I'm glad to
see.
be here. This is
Oh, it's really honor.
you are all so young and beautiful, and I'm so old and not so beautiful. I
So,
hope what I have to share,
mhm.
what I have to share today is not the result of some research study, as he so beautifully did. My presentation today is anecdotal. It's qualitative rather than quantitative in nature. It comes from a study that's been conducted for 225 years in length, and I'll explain that later. So let's just put up the first slide, and let me put up the first slide, Scott. Let's share that. So I called today, all of our sessions are dealing with developing creative thinking skills in our students. We want them to be critical thinkers, and I was going to give you what I call the wizard's point of view. I do have a title. I'm wizard at the Royal Institution of Great Britain in London. It's a title that's been passed down for the last 225 years, and it's just an honorary title. But I should have added another line called "Something is Missing." As I've listened to for the last, this is my 54th year in science education, and I've noticed the trends and innovations recently. Something is missing, and I want you to look carefully at those two pictures, those children in that first picture. They look like they're creative thinkers. They look at that little boy, and he's trying to solve a problem, and the young lady is peering into something, and she's trying to solve a riddle, or she's trying to be a critical thinker, and that's what we're after, is that look on their face right there. That is it. That was my goal for 50 years. Let's do the next slide. And I want you to look at these terms. There's a list of terms that we hope our students, it's a universal language. You know, we all come from different countries, and you all have different societies and different cultures, but we all share these terms. And we want our children to speak these words in every nation, in every situation around the planet. We all share that. That's our goal. But instead of having that goal, I have traveled to all the continents on the planet except the South Pole in my years of experience working for Discovery Channel and National Geographic. And what I have seen some wonderful things like 4D frame. When I was introduced to that, I thought it was a godsend. It was so beautiful. But what I have seen mostly in the last 20 years is the next slide. Do the next slide. That's the typical child that I see now. I don't see the same look on their face, and I don't know if you see that in your country or in where you're at, but I want you to look at his face and tell me what, in your mind, what do you observe? This is a typical kid in the United States anywhere, but I have seen it around the planet. And I look in his face and I say, is he joyful or is he stressed? Do I see a sense of delight in his face? Or is there some urgency to get something done? Urgency or delight? And you know your children. How do they look when they are doing the STEM or STEAM assignments you give them? Do they have that look on their face? I don't know. But that's what I have seen. Go on to the next slide. And in my lifetime, this has occurred to me in my lifetime. I started in 1964 teaching science. And when I was hired, I was trained to be a science teacher. And a few years, 7 or 8 years into my term as a science teacher, we decided in our country that we needed to add math and science. We needed to combine those together. The math and science were heavily linked. So we combined math and science. And then another 10 years or so later, well, let me say something about math and science. Teaching math and science at the same time is akin to teaching somebody to play the piano and sing at the same time. Two bits of music and trying to learn both of them simultaneously is difficult. It is very difficult. But later on in my career, we started to have hands-on became the word of the day in the 1970s or so. So now we are teaching math, science, and technology. And then a few years later, we added engineering, STEM, and more recently, STEM. I have that backwards. More recently, STEAM. We added art, interdisciplinary. But what I propose to you is that in front of the S, there is something missing that I have noticed over my 50 years, and the other wizards have noticed the same thing. I do project that in about 5 or 7 years, STEAM will be gone, and we will have STEMlampe, which is science, history, technology, engineering, art, mathematics, language arts, music, and physical education. I bet you that's going to happen. I bet we're going to keep adding and adding and adding and making it more complicated. And what I have seen around the world, with a few exceptions, teachers like you who are interested in, most students don't have teachers like you. They do not. Most students have an average teacher with 3 years experience. I think is the world average now. The average science teacher anyway on the planet has 3 years experience. And people like you are very rare. What I think something is missing in front of that S. There should be another letter, another thing that we have forgotten. And let's go on to the next slide. I want to reintroduce you to the world's first science teacher. That's Michael Faraday at the Royal Institution of Great Britain 210 years ago. And before his day, the world called what we call science was natural philosophy. Michael Faraday was a teacher of natural philosophy. He knew very little mathematics. He did not include mathematics in his presentations at the Royal Institution, and he was a poor math student. He was what we call as a natural philosopher, but he had one of the most fantastic critical thinking minds. He recommended that if you want to make a child a critical thinker, before you introduce art or anything else, mathematics, art, there's something else you must do first before you bring in the science. And what do you think it is? I think I have a clue. And here, I want to introduce, next slide, I want to introduce you to three other gentlemen. Those are the four wizards. I'm the fourth one, and I'm looking for Wizard 5. And for the last 225 years, we have done anecdotal research in this challenge of developing critical thinkers. The first thing, that missing bit, now go to that next slide. We want to end up with thinkers like this. This is what we're trying to think up, what we're trying to arrive at, are children who are critical thinkers. But in order to achieve that, the missing link is, let's see the next slide. That. I want you to think, how many of your students in your classroom have had that expression on their face in all your teaching careers? Just think about it. I want you to look at their face. Their attention has been captured. Some of them are terrified. Some of them are joyful. Some of them are enthusiastic. Some of them have anticipation in their face. You can see delight and even fear, but you can see that their bodies are involved, their minds, their hearts and souls are engaged. In order to teach STEAM, in order to start a critical mind, it is my contention that the first thing we have to do is capture their imagination. If we do not capture their imagination, all else comes very difficult. Now that's my only statement tonight. And you say, well, that's very nice. Thank you, Jake, and thank you, Wizard 4, for bringing that to our attention. But I want to give you an example if I have the time. So here's the next slide, my last.
Sorry, so could you wrap it up in 1 minute?
1 minute.
Okay.
Here we go.
Thank you.
1 minute, I'll be done. So there, I want you to look at this next slide right there. That right there will capture your imagination. And what we're proposing here at the Faraday studio, that's why I fell in love with Mr. Park and 4D frame. It inspired this. You can go to the next slide. Is that we are in the process of gathering 200 activities that have been used across the planet for the last 225 years that capture the imaginations of children to start the process of becoming a creative thinker. Now, I just want to show you one of them very quickly. I've just got a glass. Are you scooping in on this glass? I've got a glass and a fork and a spoon. I'm just going to put a matchstick right in here. And many of you have seen this before, probably, if you're a physics teacher or a science teacher. Ah, boy. There we go. Not fitting. That's great. I've got less than a minute, so we'll try to get this to speed up. So now I've got the fork and the spoon with the matchstick on there, and I'm going to, this is a center of gravity demonstration. And hopefully I won't run out of time. Now, Jacob, you might have to bring the camera up, pick the camera up and bring it over here. Now, all I'm going to do right now is capture your imagination. I'm not going to include any art. I'm not going to include any mathematics. I'm going to mention a few scientific terms. And this is the reason I like 4D frame, because it allows kids to capture their imaginations before they get into mathematics or before they get into art or before they get into anything else. And of course, this is demonstrating that the center of gravity of this system is right at this point right here, quite amazingly. And if you've never seen this thing before, this particular activity, all I want you to do is just to pretend that you are 10 years old for just a second at 4 o'clock in the morning. see if I can break that off. There you go. Now, I don't know if your imagination is, can you look down over the top of that? Now, that simple activity, that's a jaw dropper. I look at your faces right now. I'm looking on the screen, and what do I see as I look at your face? You've all got a grin on your face, and you're going, what's going on?
Wow, it's amazing.
Isn't that amazing?
It's amazing, really amazing. It's my first time
It's
to see
amazing.
this.
It's so simple.
It's so
So what I'm
amazing.
proposing is that missing thing in front of STEAM there is natural philosophy. Is before you start teaching science, we have to capture their imaginations, and it's hard to do in today's world when there's so much stuff going on. So that's the Faraday 200 program, that we're going to provide you with hundreds of activities just like this. No math, no art, just capturing your mind. That's all. That's it. I'm done.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening.
It's really inspiring and it's really motivating. And I was really motivated by your passion about this education, your passion. Thank you.
Well, it's only one it's one simple part of capturing, making a critical thinker, but it's missing right now in our plan.
Oh,
so
yeah.
We're going to bring it back. We're going to bring it back. So there it is. Thank you.
Thank you. So I think it's really nice to, like, if you have a website or any contact points on the chat box.
Oh, yes. Just
you
remember
can
these
chat.
words. Remember Midnight Science Club.
Midnight Science Club. Okay.
Logo you go to Midnight Science Club, right there it is. You find us on the internet. We'll give you hundreds of these activities.
Okay. Thank you for the access. Yes, we can
Okay.
utilize
Thank you.
this in
Thank
the
you for staying
classroom.
awake. It's 4 o'clock in the morning here.
Yes.
I don't know what's
Oh,
going on here,
yeah. I don't know how
I'm
to
going to
say.
bed now. I'll see you later.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Okay.
Sure. Enjoy your Friday. Have a good night.
right, bye.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I hope
Wow,
it made
it's
some sense.
Yes, it was really, really nice. Oh, I didn't expect I can see this kind of experiment in this like really short time. So thank you for this inspiring presentation. And I think, oh yes, in the chat box, like, many people are really amazed by his passion and his experiment. And thank you for your reaction. I really happy to see this interaction in the chat box, and thank you. And I think it's time to move on to Jihi Kang. Are you here?
Yes, I'm
Okay,
here.
so I think we need to keep the time. So I hope you finish in the 8 minutes. Is it
Okay.
fine? Okay.
Short and briefly.
Yes,
I will
thank
try.
you.
I'll
Thank
try.
you so
Yeah.
much. Okay, so you ready?
Then I'm sharing my presentation. Yeah. I'll try to go fast. Okay. Yeah. I'm Ji Kang, and I'm currently working as an art teacher in Sosa Middle School in South Korea, and studying for PhD at Korea National University of Education. Today, I'd like to discuss about creativity in STEM education, especially in art and science. So the title of my speech is "What Creativity Should We Foster? Difference of creativity between art and science and its implications for STEM education." So in a new era called the fourth industrial revolution, a myriad of new skills is required for the future. But among these, creativity has been considered a crucial factor. Thus, it is not strange that the creativity has been the primary aim and driving force of STEM education from the beginning. However, there is many hardships to teach and assess creativity due to the difficulty of classifying the definition of creativity. Creativity is often considered multifaceted and multidimensional since there is no clear and widely accepted definition of creativity. Although recent researchers agreed that creativity is what has appropriateness and novelty, Elements constructing creativity are known much more diverse depending on domains. So as we see APT model, which is very famous, many researchers agree that creativity can contain both domain general and domain specific features. Domain general features of creativity can be compared to prerequisite to visit the amusement park, such as admission fee or time to spend. And the domain specific creativity is like choosing what would you write. Yeah. And the APT model implies we should know and concern differences of creativity in the different knowledge areas. This diversity is especially seen in the light of art and science, which are very hugely in their contention aims. So if elements of creativity are different depending on each domain, one can raise the question of whether STEAM education, which focuses on activating knowledge and process of several areas, could be justified to foster creativity. So in this presentation, I discussed differences in creativity between art and science and how STEAM education has a meaning to foster creativity for the future generation. As I mentioned, I'm working as an art teacher, so I'm always interested in what is artistic creativity and how it is revealed in art products. So I clarified the elements of artistic creativity by discovering and categorizing what was previously said about creativity in art. To achieve this, I investigated articles containing the keywords art and creativity, artistic creativity, and creativity in art, and analyze the content to extract and categorize the elements of artistic creativity. Here's what I found. Appropriateness and originality or novelty are representative features of creativity, as you know, and the flexibility and fluency consist in divergent thinking, which is most frequently mentioned when discussing creativity. In addition, affective skills like sensitivity, flow, autonomy, curiosity, and openness are about the same as other areas. These skills are likely to be categorized as domain general creativity. However, I could not find the discussion about elaboration, which is considered a core element of divergent thinking in other areas, especially in science, well as intuition, imagination, transition among modes of thinking, and connecting are frequently discussed, but visualization seems the most unique feature of artistic creativity. When it comes to science, there were numerous articles discussing creativity in science. Scientific creativity refers to the ability to make a scientifically new and useful product based on scientific knowledge in a scientific context. Furthermore, researchers emphasize skills such as scientific knowledge, science process skills, scientific problem finding skills, and problem solving skills. This research imply creativity in science concerns primarily with useful and practical research. This might be the most distinct differences between creativity in art and science. That is, scientific creativity only can be expressed in the context of scientific problems and scientific knowledge. If two people each contrived a new scientific solution, their ideas will be sifted through, and then the most effective solution will be selected. On the other hand, our work does not need professional knowledge, and it is also not judged by its usefulness or appropriateness. Artists usually get their idea from everyday life, and their sources of art are very wide and diverse. There is no fixed problem or process to follow in art, and they even get more praises when they escape from the norm. In addition, illogical and irrational thinking is acknowledged, but in science, mode of thinking tends to be more logical. Moreover, even though our works are made in more general situation, Scientific creativity is facilitated in a specific problem-solving situation. To summarize, artistic and scientific creativity share similar features, such as divergent thinking, abilities, and affective skills, but there is a distinct difference within their aims. Then, how do these differences affect the practice of STEAM education? STEAM education basically pursues convergence among different knowledge areas. Each area values creativity, but the perception of creativity, that is, elements of creativity in each domain, can be different. Creativity in science is generally based on professional knowledge and focuses on problem finding and solving procedures, whereas artist creativity more emphasizes finding a unique and original process in urban artists, encouraging diverse perspectives and irrational thoughts and expressions. Nevertheless, when you think about a real life situation, you cannot find any boundary line between domains or areas. Every event occurs simultaneously, thereby the problem is much more complex, and there's actually no separation among knowledge areas. Moreover, a goal of STEAM education is to have a convergence experience and to learn how to collaborate and interact with people in other areas, and not have professional knowledge or master each domain's procedures. In this sense, it seems more logical to focus on domain general creativity that many subjects share, rather than focusing on a more elaborate and professional area of domain-specific creativity. In other words, STEAM education, which often uses project-based learning, will help students to understand thinking processes of several areas and different procedures of each domain. And even there are some differences in creativity within each domain, their basic elements are similar, especially at the literacy level. Some people say that a living creature itself is some kind of problem, and the creativity represented by originality ensures the survival of the creature. It means our organism's behavior containing survival and reproduction can be a creative process. STEAM education means a transition from knowledge-based learning to project and inquiry-based learning that encourages to get practical and useful knowledge. These experiences will place students in various new circumstances so that their creativity can be fully facilitated. Finally, creativity itself, regardless of sub-factors, will contribute to improve each student's potential abilities to the future. That's the end of my presentation, and I appreciate for the opportunity to speak with you today. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. It opens up my eyes, because whenever I think about like creativity, I just focus only one feature, like it should be new. But by listening to your presentation, I think, oh, I need to like capture the differences between like scientific creativity and artistic creativity. And thank you. It was really inspiring. And if you have any ideas to share or any questions, I welcome. Or, oh yes, Joko, a clap to you. And anyone to share? And
I think art is the minor subject in STEAM
oh,
education,
yes,
especially
yes.
so. Yeah, I always think about the role of art in STEAM education, and yeah, it's my opinion, personal opinion about STEAM education.
Yes,
Yeah.
I truly understand, because when we like think about like art in STEAM education, we focus on the product in like artistic way. We want to just
Yeah.
make it pretty or like really visible. But I think
Yeah.
if we focus on the creativity from the perspective of art, right, the STEAM education will be more flourishing. Thank you very much. And if you have any ideas, please leave in the chat box. Thank you very much. So shall we move on to the fourth presenter, Wally, Colin, and Amy Salma? Are you here? Are you ready?
Yes, I am here. Yes,
Yay, I can hear you. So are you gonna share your presentation, or
yeah, sure.
are you ready?
Yeah. so much.
So Valerie is going to talk about the
I
impact
hope
of
my
education.
my microphone is working well, I guess. So okay. All right. Okay, let me start.
Can you start? Are you ready?
Yes, yes, I'm ready.
Okay, so
You can
please
hear my
keep it
voice clearly, right?
8 minutes.
Okay. Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone, as we here come from different parts of the world. And thank you for having me tonight. My name is Faraday. I am a mathematics teacher at Sekolah Arifati Bilingual School Aceh, a province at the westernmost of Indonesia. And tonight I'll talk to you about my research project on the effect of STEAM education on secondary school students' design thinking mindset and attitude towards sustainable development. And I've divided my presentation into 5 main parts. First, I'll talk about the background and the methodology and research steps, and also we'll look at the research constraint, and finally I'll show you what I've done so far. And all right. So this research is initiated by the concept of sustainable development that is receiving increasing attention globally. Through its Envision 2030 agenda, the United Nations has formulated 17 sustainable development goals as the main focuses of the global development. These goals address the global challenges such as poverty and inequality, climate change, environmental degradation, peace, and justice. However, these sustainable development goals seem to be currently unfamiliar among Indonesian communities at the grassroots level. There will be an urgent need to foster the interest of Indonesian young generation in sustainable development to build their awareness of future challenges in their context and how they deal with them. And one of the example of SDGs that urgently needed in Indonesia is to make cities inclusive, safe, sustainable, and resilient, which is known as SDG 11. Part of this goal is to ensure the community can have sustainable and resilient housing that can prevent to overly use the energy and resources, as well as to reduce the impact of natural disasters. And also this goal is important because in relation to geographical condition of Indonesia, where Indonesia is a tropical country that is highly humid and has high level of sunlight and also rainfall rate. And this condition must require Indonesia to be prepared with adequate infrastructure that suit its environmental conditions. So specifically in my city, Mendaca, it is coastal area that lies on major continental plate that has caused it to be a vulnerable area. Tsunami in 2004, it happened in our province. That's why the awareness on preparing sustainable housing system will be important for Aceh's communities. And also, in relation to housing design, vernacular architecture could be one option. It refers to a type of local or regional construction that is closely related to its context and is aware of the specific geographical features and cultural aspects of its surroundings. The reality shows that the vernacular architecture has started being forgotten by society, unfortunately. In fact, research has shown that vernacular housing had an accountable performance in terms of survival and low damage intensity during the past disaster events in many countries around the world. Therefore, introducing this concept among the society will be part of the effort to support the sustainable development. And I believe school setting is one of the best starting points to introduce the Indonesian young generation to the importance of sustainable development and the skill required to support such development. However, the implementation of STEAM education in Indonesia classroom is still limited. So this research is planning to bridge all of the aforementioned issues by providing the opportunities for students to engage in learning environment that allow them to discuss the global issues. And here, as you can see, the framework of my study. So this project will introduce the concept of sustainability and to the secondary school students by focusing on designing sustainable and safe human settlement in Aceh environmental conditions. And the learning will be done using STEAM approach here, and where most of aspects of STEAM education will involve and the use of 4D frame toolkit to help students understand the issues. At the end, the impact of STEAM education on student design, thinking, and attitude towards sustainable development will be evaluated. And here are the specific research questions on my project, which is to evaluate to what extent does the implementation of STEAM education will affect students' design thinking mindset, as well as their attitude toward sustainable development. And for methodology, I use the case study method, which involves only 5 students. The survey data measures students' design thinking mindset and their attitude towards sustainable development, pre and post intervention. And the survey will adopt a self-report questionnaire from the previous study. And also later, the trends that appear in the survey are analyzed, and the interviews will be conducted to clarify and elaborate the trend from the survey. All right, here I divided my project into 2 big stages. The first stage would be introductory stage, where students have workshop sessions aiming to develop students' understanding on the concept of sustainability and sustainable development, and to introduce them with the 4 different toolkits and allow them to get hands-on experience on how to use 4 different. And this step has involved the next one, the second stage, will involve 5 stages, 5 small stages. And this step has involved the design thinking process, or in STEAM education, similar to what is called with engineering design process. So the first one is during empathy building, students are provided with the concept of sustainable, resilient, and safe human settlement. And an architect is invited to explain about this fundamental concept. And then need finding, the students discuss the core ideas about resilient human settlement in Aceh specifically. And then next ideation, students discuss about the design concept of resilient house that will be suitable for Aceh context based on their idea. And prototyping, students create a house using 4D frame based on the design they made. And lastly, it would be testing. And students present their work in front of the teacher and also architect. The invited architect, they are also be allowed to revise their work based on the feedback they get. However, unfortunately, there are some challenges that make this project cannot be conducted within the timeline that has been planned before. That has also because this project doesn't have the result yet. The first constraint is the change of the focus on the main activity of the project. Originally, the project goal is to introduce the concept of disaster resilient house and ask students to create a prototype of the house. However, considering that to evaluate the success of the prototype made by students will need a lot of indicators to consider, then the goal of the activities in this project is changed a little bit to be sustainable house that suits our environment. And that's why I need more time to discuss with the expert about the design of the activities. And secondly, the second constraint due to the spread of the COVID-19 was getting worse in my city, Banda Aceh. Even our school had some spread faster, which caused some school members got infected. And the school has been instructed to be closed around 3 months. Our learning processes was switched to be online, so that I think it would be hard for me to interact directly with students to introduce the 4D frame toolkit. So this month, we have resumed our school, but still using a hybrid mode. And yeah, so far what I have done, I've got the content, of course, and then design the instrument, and then discuss with the expert architect related to components that we need to involve in our activities. And the first stage of the project has also begun. And the concept of sustainability and vernacular architecture has been introduced to the students. Students also have filled the first intervention, pre-intervention survey, which generally indicated that they are not really familiar with design thinking mindset and sustainable development. In a way, I think the design thinking process, the second stage of my project, will be conducted soon. Thank you. That's all my tonight's presentation.
Thank you for a really nice and inspiring presentation. As you mentioned, I think you follow the design thinking process, is it right?
Yep.
Oh, yeah. So, yes, the weather problem, like environmental issues, it's really hard to believe that it's your own problem, right? So if they truly understand, they truly have empathy that, oh, this is my problem, so they can take action. I think, yes, the first stage really seems important, and really, I really appreciate your hard work. And any question or comments, I welcome everyone to join the chat box, or if you want to speak up, you can turn on your mic and you can share your opinion. Let's help each other. Let's support each other by sharing your comments. Oh yes, continues in the chat box. Christoph mentioned very high quality project. Congratulations, Wally. Oh yeah, so I think you should be proud of yourself. Yes, and good luck. I think am I correct? You mentioned that you're going to continue this project. Oh,
Yes.
okay. So good
Still on
luck.
process.
Oh yes, yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good luck with your project, and thank you for really nice participation. And I can't see Dan is here, so I think we should move on to the last week. Nobi Pernamasari and Itapu Hidayah. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. First of all, let me share my screen.
If you're ready, please start me, and I'm going to count to 8 minutes.
Can everyone see my screen?
Oh, you're gonna. I can see the
my
picture.
students' photos.
Ah, it's your students. Okay, I see. I can see.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, hello everyone, and also a hello from my students. Here I'm with Miss Mifta. I'm Novi Purnamasari, and also I'm working together with Miss Mifta to do this research titled The Effects of STEAM Approach Using 4D Frame in the context of Palembang Cultural Heritage on students' attitude towards mathematics. I begin this presentation by sharing the background of my research. Comes from by seeing the 21st century challenge that we all need to face, that we all need to prepare, and also to help our students to face all them. And also by seeing the law of mathematical skills, especially in my schools, and by seeing this law of mathematical skills, I also see the negative attitude of students toward mathematics in my class. That's why here I want to see how is the effect of the STEAM approach by using the 4D frame for the students' attitude towards mathematics. In this research, I use the Palembang cultural heritage as the context. Also, I want to see the effects of the using of 4D frame on the gender, if I refute on the gender. And also, next on the research objectives, here I have two research objectives. First is to investigate the effects of implementing STEAM approach on the attitude towards mathematics, if reviewed generally, and another one is if reviewed based on the gender. Here, the research methodology. This is a quasi-experimental research. I use two classes. First is the group control group, and another one is experimental group. The instrument is a questionnaire by Tapia. It consists of 40 questions, and I use ANOVA to analyze the data. Here, let me show you the picture of my students in experimental group doing the project. So this is Pulau Abang in Palembang. Pulau Abang is like a boat with the red egg, as you see on the picture. So it's also the tradition from Palembang to celebrate the Independence Day of Indonesia. And below, it's the floating house. Floating house is usually located in Musi River, one of the biggest river in Palembang. Next, this is the result. So before I come up with the inferential analysis, I first do the descriptive analysis from the pretest and also post-test from the control group and also experimental group. Here, when we see the post-test score, we see that the standard deviation of the experimental group is higher than the control group. These trends also happen in the pretest and also post-test score. And at the end of the research, I see that there is significant difference in the students' attitude towards mathematics between the two groups, from the control group and also experimental group. However, there is no significant difference in the students' attitude towards mathematics between the two groups if reviewed based on the gender. We come up to the end of my presentation. I'm looking forward to have the discussion with you. Thank you.
Thank you for really nice work. So as you mentioned in the first slide, students, they are not familiar with the mathematics and they don't like mathematics, right? So it's really hard to motivate them, like really hard to change their attitude. But like by using this hands-on toolkit, like hands-on activities, it's really amazing to see their differences. I think the difference is quite huge, right? Before and after. So I think you would be really proud of yourself and proud of your project. And it's really nice to see that like students change in attitude. Yes, I think it's more important than just delivering knowledge. Yes. And Christoph leave the message that it's very nice and important topic. It was great to see your students too. Oh yes, yes. As you show the screens, the screenshot, I can see your students and they seem to enjoy your class. I'm really glad that students are trying to enjoy mathematics. Okay, if you have any questions or any comments and any cheer up, so I welcome everything. And if it is hard to speak up, it's fine to leave it in the chat box. Anyone share? Okay, so I think we can move on to the next presenter. So Leonard Sommer, are you here?
Yeah, I'm here. Hi, how are you doing?
Okay, how are you doing? I'm good. How
Good,
about you?
very good. Very good. Let me just try if that works here.
Okay. So are you ready to share your nice idea about classroom defense?
Can you actually see this?
Oh, yes, I can see Korean.
Yeah, that's Google.
Yeah. I can see Hangul, Korean character.
Okay. Good. So wonderful. So you want to introduce me?
Oh yeah. So let me give you a notice. We are gonna finish this. You're the last presenter, and I hope you can finish your presentation in 8 minutes. 8.
Let's see.
Okay.
Good. So actually, my name is Leonard Sommer. I'm actually not an education expert. I'm a creative entrepreneur. And I'm going to share actually my private passion project about education. I started this actually some years ago when I graduated with an executive MBA. And it's part of my master thesis at the Berlin School of Creative Leadership, focused on one central question, actually. And that's, I think, a topic that will interest all of you. It's actually how to foster creativity in 21st century education. And from this central question, actually, the book that's actually printed, and it came out now yesterday. So it's actually two of the co-authors are also on this session I just saw. So this project was born actually with the intention to encourage and enable dialogue and resources to be shared between creative industry and the education around the globe. For me, it was just more than a book. So it was a great trip really around the world. And I need to say that my curiosity brought me to so many people who had been open to share their time, secrets, and ideas. Actually, Christoph and Charlotte are actually on this call. So again, thanks for sharing your expertise. And in these last years, I've asked more than 100 creatives and education futurists in 35 countries to inspire parents, teachers, principals, and school leaders to rethink 21st century education. So what is the book about and how is it looking like, actually? The result of all this, let's say, is a book with 324 pages. It's full of inspirations, ideas, and interesting thoughts of creative professionals, education futurists, and education entrepreneurs, I need to say. And one thing before I start to share with you the content, I actually want to share the special cover of the book. So we just thought actually a book about the 21st century needs more than just only one cover. So the idea is pretty simple, but very genius of the designer. It's I also going to invite all of you, actually. You can also enter a cover, because every reader can enter a cover. And at the end, sorry for that, actually all the covers are in augmented reality, part of the cover. So if you scan your smartphone on the cover, then you can see all different covers that so far actually have been submitted. And they will then be on the cover of the real book in your hands. So these are actually some of the first 20 I got. This is of my daughter, actually, the cover. That's a designer so far. And all these covers you're going to see here, it's interesting. It's not only about professionals. It's really about, this is a 12-year-old pupil, actually. This is from a designer. And where's that? That's from an agency, actually. Just a second, because I love to admire. There's one cover actually of a 4-year-old, this one here. So it's really, everybody can submit covers. So that's the idea, that you just take part. So what's the book about, actually? It brings together a compact analysis really about the status quo. It combines let's say, what I found also in my research with the MBA about the expert's opinion of the challenge. You might know most of these. I mean, everybody knows Ken Robinson with his provocative statement. So it just brings together kind of what does the expert see about the problem. It as well brings then inspiring thoughts together with this and opinions from well-known global creative leaders from the advertising, creative and consulting economy. And numerous creatives actually from all over the globe then share their idea about main topics that are structured then in 6 chapters. So it's actually, there's a chapter about the framework and the power of the organizational design of the school. Then certainly there needs to be a discussion about how can we create an inspiring environment in the classroom itself. And we have 2 of these experts sitting in the room, as I mentioned, several. And then definitely there needed to be a chapter about the cultural change, because changing methods and just how we teach it's the same like in change management. You need to change the culture, and there are some ideas about really and opinions about how could we have an culture of risk-taking where you really are welcome to share your different ideas. This is the example of Keith Reinhardt. He was yesterday on our session. He transferred a culture of his agency of 4 freedoms to what would be if you transfer that to school. Then readers will find, and here you are actually, readers will find inspiring answers on the question, how could one facilitate creativity in the classroom? And this was one chapter that inspired me the most, actually, is what is actually the role of the parents, actually. So I'm just not only thinking about, okay, we outsource the education in school, but what can you do actually really at home? So we find expert statements about this. And then definitely a chapter about methods. So we have actually 18 methods in the book. What could be done differently? There's World Cafe, there's design thinking, interesting thought about a class subject humor, so creating a class about humor and so on. So really inspiring methods. This is yours, Christoph, the experience workshops team. We can't miss this. Thank you for this. I mentioned that's design thinking. Next chapter is about assessment. For me also, that's actually what's killing my kids, actually, is like to be always assessed. And there was a transfer about someone thought, okay, why don't we do it like in the creative industries? We just award and not assess everybody, just give them premium if they're good. Definitely also there needs to be the assessment of Bill Lucas in there. I love that, about the assessment of creativity. Then the last chapter is, that's fantastic, also sharing or get the thoughts about change leaders and founders of schools who did already realize the change. So we have 6 schools in here where we have interviews about the Blue School from the US, Iowa Big School, from Canada, the Blue Sky School, the Tokyo International School, Vitro School in Sweden, and 1 school from Finland where I never always pronounce the name, it's so hard. Fantastic actually to learn from them really how they bring it on the road. And these schools, and that's, I can underline that, it's really schools that already today create an environment where creativity can bloom and allow students to discover what they enjoy to finally develop their individually creative and academic and divergent thinking skills. Ending actually is the book with an outlook on what is possible in the future of learning from the founder of the Tokyo International School, discussing really the opportunities of AI and future technologies. So what is possible really with these technologies on base of creativity? And that's it from my side so far. The book is available, as said, since this week. It's available and there are only 250 pieces for the limited edition. It's printed, a wonderful book as you saw it, or as an ebook on the website. And before I end, let me share one piece and 1 minute talking about from the kids.
How can an education system designed for the industrial age still be relevant in the 21st century? Let's take a look at some numbers. 65% of today's children will grow up to work in jobs that don't yet exist. 60% of managers see creativity as tomorrow's most important skill, but 85% believe that creativity is suppressed in schools. Come to inspire a vision of schools that foster creativity, with room for children's minds to develop outside of the box thinking, with teachers who guide creativity instead of conformity, with lessons that prepare them for the unexpected as well as the expected. I want to know, what could the education system learn from the creative industry?
There we go. That was my presentation. Hope you liked it.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for really inspiring project. Yeah, I really like the idea of like making your own book cover. So
Yeah, where's your cover? You need to create one.
I think I should contribute. I should draw right now.
Yeah,
I
please.
and the idea of like giving awards is really amazing because the students are really
Thank
afraid
you.
of being like criticized. And they really hate that, like when they have awards, different type of awards. and they will enjoy their class. And anyone to share or any nice ideas? And Christoph, leave a message in the chat box.
Thank you, Leonard.
Oh yeah. Oh yes,
I
you
can't
leave.
wait to get my book. I've been waiting and waiting for that book.
Oh.
Come on.
Yeah, yeah. That's. I mean, you don't even get only one book. You get more, I think.
Yeah, we're a bunch of them. But yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for
The
your
mysterious
contribution. Actually, this guy is fabulous here.
Oh yes, everyone is in this session. You are amazing.
Oh, yeah.
I'm really inspired, and thank you for your active participation. I really enjoyed this night. In Korea, it's evening. It's around 8 p.m. I'm not sure. Maybe you're gonna in the morning or oh yes, book cover. Leonard Sommer is showing his book cover. And thank you for really nice experiment, Jake. I really enjoyed that, and I think we can wrap it up. So I hope you have really nice memory and nice inspiration from this nice interaction, and I hope you can continue on your nice work. So I
Oh,
hope
yeah.
we can see in the next ICAS 2022. And good night, good morning, and good evening. And I think it's better. It's
Okay.
nice. It's better to say goodbye to each other. And
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Thank
Bye.
you. Thank you
Bye.
for really nice
See you,
work.
Christoph.
Bye. See you
Bye, Christoph. Bye,
soon.
Charlotte. Cheers.
Bye.
Bye, Leonard.
Bye bye.